Yeah, so I've been in contact with peeps from Labour government who have referred me to a company by the name of New Grow, an organic recycled company that's been around 15 years or so. And then I've been in contact with the Queensland Farmers Federation, who put me in with Terrain Natural Resource Management at Innisfail. And so they pretty much detailed to me that there are re-veg projects happening around the Cairns region, because that's where the most intensive sort of input of runoff, sediment going into the Great Barrier Reef and that's what 60% of the damage of it, right? It's from bad farming practices. And so, yeah, what do you think a fungal application would do for places up there?
So, fungi, like having a mycelium network, which is this intense mat, creates matting, and also you can make a filter, literally a filter, out of like just hessian bags and inoculated mulch or anything else like that, or wood chip, right? And you can literally create these dense filters where all the runoff could be captured, filtered, and the water that comes out the other end is clean. So the fungi could not only biodegrade and eat up the pesticides, but also filter the sediments as well from other things, and also like things like E. coli, pesticides, industrial waste of all kinds. So I see a huge application, and I think it's actually one of the best ways to just stop at least the farm level stuff. I mean, we can't stop the global warming, obviously, and the coral bleaching. But at least, as you said, 60% of the damage is caused by farm runoff. So
I'd have to check that source again, but it's
heavy.
Yeah,
but I thought
the Labour government...
It makes sense to me. It makes sense to me, because if we're running everything off, like everything feeds into the ocean.
Yeah.
So all of our pollutions, on-ground pollution, goes into the water. So it's a huge application, and it'd be very, very simple to install and do. And I'm assuming up there's high rainfall as well.
There's been pretty heavy rainfall there recently, gotten away a couple of banana crops.
Oh yeah, there was that huge... I'm not sure if it was a one-off incident, but one banana farm, a banana plantation was just like flooded, all the topsoil, I think all the topsoil was gone.
Wow.
Whoa.
That's devastating. Yeah. But so even a farm application like that, you could prevent that from happening by building these sort of swales on the land with just fungal mycelium, fungal mycelium growing like through mesh bags or anything, hessian or hemp bags or whatever. And basically, it's just the potentials are incredible.
Yeah.
And the only problem I see is that conventionally, in the US, they're using conventionally. This is a new thing, really, it's only been going, from Paul Stamets' ingenuity, for some time, and through discovering, by accidentally, basically, he had a swale down, his tanks, what are they called, septic tanks.
Yeah.
They were asking the people to get rid of them because they were old, and to install new ones because it was going down to the ocean. I don't know if it's a lake or an ocean he lives near, but it's a fishing town, so they were getting polluted heavily. So they were like, you guys have to prevent your runoff somehow, and that septic tank is one thing. But what they've discovered is all the animal runoff, all the feces and stuff. He was dumping his fungal waste from gardening and growing fungi into a swale, and that was all capturing it and filtering it. So when they tested it on the other end of the swale, it was pure water. And they were like, why don't you have any coliforms? Or maybe not pure, but there was no detectable coliform to a limit where it was. He didn't even need a septic tank in the end. He didn't need to change it, which would have been a big cost. So he was like, wow, we can use this for
Yeah.
So one way is to for example, go in the ocean and create these things and even soak up oil spills.
Yeah.
That's one thing, because they float and they will just grow mushrooms. But that's the problem. I'm thinking, in Australia, do we want oyster mushrooms that are just food ones, because that's what most people eat, and farm and stuff. We do have an oyster mushroom, actually. Actually, we do have an Australian species of oyster mushrooms. So all it means, and I know someone it's growing, like has the spawn from it. So and he's doing a project on his own land as well with Roundup. So
wow, okay.
Yeah, because his neighbour's spraying heavily, and he wants to create an oasis. I think he lives in Brisbane. You know? And he just doesn't want. So he's just experimenting with, I think, the Australian oyster mushroom. I'm not 100% sure. I have to talk to him.
Yeah.
So the project, I reckon with any land management also, we don't realise that mycorrhizal fungi are important as well. So a lot of farmers, they cut through the soil and everything's turned and everything. But when you look at a forest situation, everything just keeps getting dumped. It's a mulching system.
Yeah.
It's a natural mulching system. Everything just falls, the fungi decompose it, feed it back, create a topsoil, create humus. Like none of this exists in our farming practices.
Yeah.
And that needs to, and not only that, in re-veg as well.
Yeah.
At Woodford, I think there's a 30% survival rate of trees. So out of the 100,000 that were planted, and apparently that's average, that's normal.
Yeah.
So if you can imagine that we could actually create the ecosystem around the trees in such a way that the trees are supported to grow and not just left to fend for themselves. That's another project I want to uptake up with Fordio as well, with tree huggers.
Yeah.
But it's slow because the environment is like it's what you've got to work with.
Yeah.
And if there's heat and hardly any rain and heat is fine, but it's just the moisture. So you've got to set it up so that there's enough moisture for these guys to grow and for the mycelium to flourish. But I've seen where did I put it? I'll show you something. So I've set one up at home. Right. Oh wow, it's actually gone moist. That's interesting. So this is growing after I left the box. Oh look, it's got a little ewig. But that's a great thing about them. They're also a habitat for creatures, which makes the whole ecosystem prolific, as you can imagine, because it sets up a whole chain reaction from fungi onwards. Like they create the bacteria in the soil, they attract all the insects to eat it and stuff. But what this was, so I had a styrofoam box and I put layers and layers of cardboard and sugarcane mulch, and I wet it and I inoculated it with oyster, just like a log, which is just a material inoculated with the fungi. And I've just put it in there and left it. And then I've been away, I didn't water it, and of course it's in a system where it's very prone to drying. But after months, I just left it under the dome and just came back. I was like, oh my god! And this mushroom was sticking out on the side, and it completely dried. It was hard. Now it's moistened because I think of the moisture in the air, but it was hard out. It's completely dried out. But it just shows you how much they will survive.
Yeah.
Complete even drought, and they still survive. And there's still mycelium on there. Like if I was to put this into a system of some kind, wet some corrugated paper and cardboard and stuff, that would just grow mycelium. It would just take over. Extremely resilient with extreme amounts of spores being produced. So you can imagine that you're gonna you can do it because nature's already doing it. It's just that we're not helping it, But as I said, the mycelium matting is what you I'll show you. I have a photo of it. I've got it yesterday. This is just incredible. I was just stoked. I was moving some tyres. I had it's pretty messy. I had tyres everywhere. I tried to grow stuff in them. But this tyre was just lying there, and I was going to move it. And I picked it up, and there was this incredible mycelium growing on the ground and on the tyre, binding the two together. I took photos of it, and I didn't move it. I just left it there, brought in mulch, covered it up, and allowed it just to sit there. And who knows, the tyre might start getting decomposed over years. Because that's how powerful these enzymes are of fungi. So I'm even thinking...
So an industrial application of tyre.
You can definitely... They break down... Did you remember I talked about it by accidentally? Students found... I don't remember which units from in the US. They went to the Amazon and they dug out... They brought up all these creatures from the Amazon to study them. And by accidentally somehow they fed plastic to a... fungus, and it turned out to eat, it loves eating plastic. And it was never introduced to it because it was in the Amazon, so it never saw plastic before. So to me that's it's not an adaptation. To me that's a design where it's already been put there because someone knew that we're going to screw up really, really badly.
Yeah.
They created all these creatures that saying, you know, you can screw up as much as you want, but really I've put all the mechanisms there for you to then clean up your mess, which I think is just the most wonderful thing. Do you know what I mean? Like it's so. Yeah, like I've just been so depressed over how we just screw everything up and we're just going to kill the earth, you know? But we can't really. Like there are all these mechanisms. It might take millions of years to recover if we keep going the way we are. But there's hope, and all these things already exist. They're just waiting for humans to go, oh wow, okay, maybe we can start doing things differently.
Yeah.
Like people grow things out of mushrooms, fungi.
Yeah.
So you can grow a house.
Building blocks, like bricks.
Building blocks, bricks. You can do leather as well, like a vegan leather that's more versatile, more durable, just like everything more better than what we're doing in the way we're using the resources that we have at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's just never ending. But going back to what you've asked, I'd be in on collaborating with people. There's a Gladstone project that's maybe gonna start soon.
Yeah.
We're applying for a grant. And that will be a trial pilot site. And then what we're thinking of doing is, and it's part of the, I think, Healthy Waters is one of the organisations that's been on it.
There's Healthy Waterways.
Oh.
They might be two different.
Yeah, because
routes.
Gladstone's got a different one. A healthy or reef something. I don't know. It's a reef. Yeah.
A reef initiative.
Yes, thank you. And so what we're hoping of doing is doing a pilot, documenting it, and then just giving it away, like, so people, like, that's my desire. My desire is just to create something to show that it works, and then just train a few people so they can just go and repeat it all over Australia and everywhere, you know. So it wouldn't be like a money-making thing. It'd be more of a, this is the tool to use for everyone on every level. You know, go to Vietnam and clean up all the Agent Orange that's like creating.
That branches me to question rehabilitation of mine sites.
Yeah.
You can remove the metals from them. Mine sites, what are they? They're natural terraces, or they're created terraces. It's like if you can, and then as we're going to see later, one of the sites has river mouths leading into it.
Wow.
So I'm not exactly sure. We may have to edit that out, but if you have a terracing site that's been cleared, ready to use, with river mouths already going into it, you just need to make sure you build the natural infrastructure to concentrate moisture around that area, and it becomes a self-watering valley.
And if it's already got water coming into it, then you've got a whole filtration system. And the thing is with, when you do use fungi for remediating heavy metals and isotopes, radioactive isotopes, you need to remove the mushrooms, or ideally what I would do is actually let it go and let a dilution kind of a factor happen. So as the normally if you want to use the site, you would remove the fungi and actually, or other plants that you grow that accumulate heavy metals, and you'd remove them, harvest them, and then dispose of the metals or reuse them, whatever it is, you know. Because you can't really degrade a heavy metal down to even lower components.
It's an element.
Whereas with, exactly. So it's not like, you know, with pesticides where you can make them inert by just the fungi just convert it and uses it as a sugar source, basically, as a fuel source. So with what I would do is in this situation, I would let it fallow, like I would inoculate it and let the fungi respore, and just keep doing that until all the mushrooms have been kind of, you know, insects will come and feed on a little bit, they'll go and take like a tiny bit with them, and eventually the ecosystem will just grab it out, and eventually actually all these metals will be used in the ecosystem, but we need them anyway, because everything's made out of these metals that are already in the soil. We're just made out of dirt anyway, you know, like physically. So it's not like a really dangerous, even isotopes, you can just remove tiny bits, put them in different places, and you can remove you can clean up a huge one concentrated radioactive spill, do you know what I mean? So it is like, I think over time, it's a time thing, it's a time frame thing, it's not like, unless someone really wants to go and use it, but I would start growing things on there, and actually birds will come and poop, and trees will start growing, so we'll all just dissipate into the environment without causing further damage and actually being used by...
we were talking about Shane yesterday. I was mentioning one of the mine site rehabilitation methods that worked was in South Africa. They tried a lot of things, weren't working. They eventually just chucked a bunch of animals into the valley. Animals, hay, they did their thing, and it gave positive results. So I haven't seen the study, so I'm not going to say anything else on it.
Is that Shane that did the bone in on it?
Yeah.
How did you guys meet up with him?
At the green room, so I met him there as well. So hey, I'm doing this thing.
Yeah, that's cool. But did you say you spoke to him yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh, so he's still around the area?
At Crystal Waters, he's going to leave for a while tomorrow, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere, so...
Yeah.
Yeah, it was making sure we left at a certain date, but that works well. So there are also some folk around Willows area that we may be able to visit, and one of them was telling me there was 5 inches of rain there yesterday.
Wow.
It's like, whoa. I don't know the area very well, but I actually don't know it at all. The furthest north I've been is Harvey Bay.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to see this new area. I'm going to see, what's 5 inches of rain on this landscape going to look like? What's the kind of runoff going to be?
Yeah.
So, what kind of potential exists here?
Yeah, that's the thing as well, runoff and erosion. Like at Woodford, I did basically, a lot of heavy labour. Like just created a slope and just inoculated some of it with oyster mushroom spawn but just basically layered lots of mulch layers.
Yep.
And I went to see it after the Woodford Folk Festival, and it's got earthworms on this really, really rocky, horrible, it was just terrible. The erosion was about this deep, and it was just just sad, And they were planting trees right into that. It was like this
into the slope.
Yeah, and the trees, some of them survived.
Well, trees, they'd be lucky the ones that do, but the ones that do stay there, they will offer a good bit of natural protection.
Exactly, but they were, up the slope and where the grass was still. But where the erosion was, nothing was surviving in there. The grass was trying to grow. Now there's grass, there's earthworms underneath, there's slaters, there are mycelium starting to... There's moisture in there and it hasn't rained. Oh look, there's that bee, the wasp I was talking about. Yeah. There's another camera. She's very flighty.
I'll get this thing
She's
ready.
so cute. I've been trying to take a photo of her for ages.
That's just a solitary bee here.
No, that's a cuckoo wasp.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. But there are I've got blue-banded bees sometimes come as well. But at the moment there's no flowers except for lantana, which is something for them.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, people just think weeds are so bad, and I've got this whole feeling that they're so good. They grow because there's a reason why they grow in the area. They're basically helping us to rehabilitate. They're rehabilitating the land, and we're chucking them out and going, you're bad, without understanding that...
So they have no immediate human use value. That's the issue.
That's probably the problem, isn't it?
And so, talking to Shane yesterday, saying, if you notice, they crawl along with the outskirts of the forest.
Yeah.
So the gums sort of emerge, the lantana slowly crawls to the next point, and then what's left behind is native vegetation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that... Yeah, weeds and uses, the blue billy goat weed flower? If you sort of scrunch that up and apply it to a tick bite, it'll reduce the severity of the toxins that's injected into you. Something like it, or some sort of little blue flower that's understood to be a
weed.
Yeah.
Same with lantana. I knew this guy once. He was just
Madeira vine, though, I don't know any application for the Madeira vine. It's
Madeira vine?
Yeah.
I'm sure there is, we just don't know it yet.
So little poisonous potatoes that propagate enormously once they get into the ground. I guess maybe if you find a way to boil the poison out of them, you can have little nugget-sized potatoes.
Yeah.
But, something else to look into.
But you can slash, rather than trying to get things out of the ground completely, what my idea would be to cut, just if you're gonna come in and if you're gonna come in and do like rip things out and work, and then they'll grow back anyway. You might as well slash and mulch, return the nutrients back, and then put like a layer of lots of mulch and allow fungal inoculation to happen naturally, and it will just at least go back and feed the soil, and then the species that can grow in a rich soil will take over, rather than these guys they grow there because they survive there. That's the thing, because they can and nothing else can. And that's the reason why they grow there. And that's great, because as you can see, like as long as you expose a little bit of soil, something will come, because that's what nature is designed to do, to go, and it's like our skin, if you have a braid, straight away things will start closing it up. It's exactly the same principle. So it's just like we leave all these open cuts, and we think, and this beautiful lantana comes along and goes, yay, I can. And apparently digs out a lot of nutrients from deep down as well, and brings it up to the soil. So it's really trying to
a dynamic accumulator.
Yeah, exactly. And apparently, now a PhD has been done on it. There's a lady called Catherine, I forget her name now, last name. I wanted her to speak at the planting festival last year, because I was organising part of the workshops, the environmental workshops. And she has done a PhD showing that if you cut down lantana, 30 species of animals lose home immediately, because the animals have adapted to living under and within lantana. Plus, it's a source of flowers when nothing else is flowering. And like little marsupials and birds and all kinds of creatures, she looked at. That's 30 species, just that's
I'm not going to miss the ticks.
No, do they live in lantana?
Yeah, that's what makes them a bit of a crazy one, I guess. That'd go against domestic pets, right? And say, oh no, you got lantana there, you can't let your dog or cat near there, they'll get ticks and they'll die. So that'd be one of the big arguments. But also the argument of my own personal experience. I went all hero on a big brush of lantana when I was volunteering at Greening Australia.
Yeah.
By the end of the day, after a doctor visit to remove one, we found another 8 or 9 on me when we got home. But I wasn't versed up on that, and be careful how you manage certain things.
Yeah.
Look before you leave.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
Actually, no, you don't have to do that all the time.
Yeah, no. And lantana, one of the flowers, I can't remember which colour, but it gets rid of tick fever. But you got to know which colour it is.
Yeah.
One of either the pink is the good one, or I don't know.
Oh, yeah,
This guy said, he actually said Aboriginal people taught him that, which is really interesting. So I don't know how that works, because it was an introduced plant. But I guess maybe because some of them live in the bush and have discovered these things, they get knowledge.
Or even perhaps similarities between using colour as an indicator.
Oh, yeah. But I think he actually ingests it, and it takes the fever away if people get, tick fever. Yeah. But see, I don't have ticks, and I've got lantana. I don't have ticks on my land at all. So it just depends on the climate, like wherever it depends on other climatic conditions, I guess. Yeah,
like they're heavier around springtime, so that's more in the urban areas. So what kind of urban areas, what's the ambience around there? So in Brizzy, does it start getting a little bit wetter?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure, but I am not that versed in my sort of weed control and weed habitat.
I like weeds. I wish we could do something more with weeds.
I don't like Chinese elm though. They raise the pH of the soil.
Oh yeah. And
the birds can propagate the seed quite a bit. They outcompete natives too much. I can definitely see the science behind calling a lot of weeds, but then longer term studies on lantana, it's a classic one of being called a weed when it probably shouldn't be, or it should be understood that it has a greater application. It makes the soil underneath it a lot better, leaves way for native vegetation, as you say. 30 species of animals, it's like you remove that, what happens to the biodiversity? You need to be able to plug something right back in there, or it's just a form of ecocide.
I guess we need to just understand why a certain thing grows. Like, we don't get the why that spot.
Yeah.
And I think once we start actually looking at the causes of the reasons behind it, rather than we're just so funny, we just go, oh, I don't like this here, let's get rid of it. Do you know what I mean? We kind of don't really understand, and that would be a great study to do, because we could actually probably regenerate the rainforest that once grew around Australia by allowing weeds to create. At the moment, like eucalypts are just basically, you know, the most dominant species in Australia, but actually the most drought tolerant. So they will continue creating drought in Australia. Do you know what I mean? It kind of works because they're made to survive, and in fact, a lot of the plants need fire, even, you know.
Yeah.
And as you know, Shane is very much no. You don't burn. Like burning, like why would you do that when it's, you know, you want to keep creating topsoil. This is the thing for me. So that's why I see weeds as a they take out nutrients if they're allowed to die and do their cycle. And in fact, apparently what happens is they just go through a cycle. So they do their job. They start. They regenerate the soil to the point where it needs to be regenerated. And they actually don't seed up anymore. They're like a pioneer almost. You know what I mean? Like a pioneer plant where, okay, this is growing here. Like mining sites, a perfect example.
Yeah.
It's very hard to grow native straight into it because it's poisoned. But you've got things like poplars and things that are completely like tolerant to metals, but they're there taking out the metal, and then eventually something else will come. So we can't destroy anything really. We can't lose all those species. I think everything's still underground waiting. There are seeds still waiting to be, you know, so we kind of have this aggressive view. And same with cane toads, like now animals are eating them, you know, they've discovered how to eat them without the glands.
Yeah, the crows just slip them over. The red-bellied black snakes, they need to be of a certain size to eat them.
But did you hear how they now change?
In Kakadu, they are a large red-bellied black snake
but
now.
What's his name? Lamarck, his last name is, I think, Jean. You know that guy that did the frog talk at the...
I've heard the name. It's probably a common name, actually.
Jean... Yeah, he's a professor at, I think UQ, I'm not sure. Yeah. Anyway, he talks about how the snakes have now adopted a smaller jaw and a smaller head to eat the, not the tadpoles, I think when the frogs are just little or before they become poisonous. Yeah. And he says, like, one of the worst things to do is to freeze them, because people freeze them. And he says they're like a domestic cockroach. They only live where humans live. And in in a healthy habitat, that needs to be healthy, of course, they don't proliferate because they can't jump as other frogs do. So what they do is they just kind of need like a clearer land to get through. So if you grow, if you've got a pond, you just grow a lot of like reeds and stuff around it. They can't actually get through, so they can't breed. So there are all these things. Yeah, and he was saying, I went to the kids' talk at the planting, and he said, little kids were asking, how do we kill them? Like, is it okay to freeze them? And he's like, no, it's one of the most painful. He's got a friend that, very painful death. Well, you can imagine. It's just like if we were stuck in a freezer. Very slow and painful death. But he's like, you just create habitat and they'll go and they'll get eaten by other animals. And
there's this idea that if you encourage the females because they have a larger territory, you actually have a lot less cane toads, and it's a lot easier to figure out what to do with them after that. So encourage the females, and that way you don't have the influx of like juvenile males and and so it's a lot easier, like taxonomical way to look at it.
How would you encourage the females?
I think they like certain plants or things like that.
I like cane toads. They're here. Yeah. I've got just as many frogs. I've got frogs living up in the whirly and the shit on my bed. There's wintry frogs every day coming out of my dome.
Oh my god.
So I've got like many more tree frogs than cane toads. And they just coexist. Like I don't see that this land is damaged, obviously, and it's been, I think, grazed like before all this pioneer, species came.
Yeah.
So this is just transitory. Like my idea would be to eventually, because this used to be a rainforest, this whole area. So just
now
farming.
Run by eucalypt, so I think of those dynamics.
Yeah.
So a survival tree.
Yes.
In where there was abundant forest.
Yes, exactly. Have you seen, maybe you wouldn't have, but like the Bunya Mountains, obviously is like the pinnacle of, it's the perfect kind of environment. It's not going to be like that everywhere here, but as you go down, everything changes down to scrub vine, dry rainforest. Yeah. It's like Mount Warren, and it's beautiful. absolutely beautiful, like just so much wildlife in there of all kinds. So that's what will be great to get here eventually. I don't know how to start, but
huge prickly pears here.
yeah, and you know, that's another. I was thinking about that. I could just go around and chop because they've got so much water in them,
Yeah.
and like it's a pity because nothing